Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I realized I've never actually done a full channel update before, so I figured what better time than now. There's a ton going on in my world, and over the next few months, it's going to be an absolute whirlwind of gaming, reviews, some live streams, and some big events. And I also just started my new government job, so balancing everything is going to be wild. But I'm excited to take on the challenge and bring you all along for the ride. This is shaping up to be one of the busiest and most exciting stretches for the channel yet. So let's dive into what's coming up. This year's review lineup is already stacked, but there's one game changer looming on the horizon, and that's the Nintendo Switch 2. With the Switch Direct scheduled for April 2nd, rumors are swirling and anticipation is at an all-time high. If the Switch 2 hits before summer officially kicks off like I expect it to, I'll be having to pivot fast, shifting gears to dive into hardware reviews, launch titles, comparisons, all while juggling everything else on my plate. It's going to be a whirlwind, but hey, this is what I signed up for, so with that in mind, here is what's on my radar for the next few months. First up, I've got 3 videos in the editing pipeline right now that I'm working on, and the first one should be dropping tomorrow. I'll be trickling them out over the next few days, so stay tuned for that. Now, let's talk about what games are coming up next. I have several reviews and impressions in the works, so here's a breakdown of what I'll be covering over the next couple of months. BenQ GR10 Mobile Dock Review. This is a pretty interesting piece of gaming tech, essentially a mobile dock designed for gamers who want a high quality, low latency experience on the go. I'll be testing it with multiple devices including the Nintendo Switch and the Retroid Pocket 5, as well as my gaming PC to see just how well it performs. If you're someone who games across multiple platforms and travels a lot, this might be worth checking out. The first Berserker Kazan Demo Impressions. This is an upcoming dark fantasy action RPG from the developers of Dungeon Fighter Online. It's got brutal, fast-paced combat, an intense atmosphere, and a story about revenge and redemption. I'll be diving into the demo and seeing how it stacks up against other Souls-like games, as well as whether it has what it takes to stand out in a crowded genre. Next, I have a surprise retro game review, and I'll give you guys a little hint. It's going to be celebrating a big anniversary this year. And I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say it's a legendary platformer that's celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. And if you grew up in the 90s, this game was probably a staple of your childhood. I'm super excited to revisit it, break it all down, and celebrate this milestone in gaming history. Let's just say it involves and some of the best 2D platforming of all time. Next up is Beyond the Ice Palace 2 review. This is a sequel that nobody saw coming. The original Beyond the Ice Palace was an obscure action platformer from the late 80s, and now, decades later, we're getting a follow-up. I actually just got my early review code yesterday, so I'll be diving into it this weekend to see how it plays, what's changed, and whether it brings that old school magic to modern audiences. As you all know, I love Metroidvania, so I'm hyped for this game. The official release date is on March 13th, so I'm hoping to have my review out right around that time. Next up, I'll be reviewing Split Fiction, and I'll actually be playing this game with Michaela. So this one's exciting because it's a game that requires co-op to play. So Michaela and I will be teaming up for this review. Coming up next is the Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, and finally, I get to play these games after years of hearing about how amazing these games are and seeing those used game prices on the store shelf that were outrageous. These are legendary JRPGs famous for their massive rosters of recruitable characters, deep political intrigue, and incredible storytelling. Since these are long games and I am a bit of a completionist, this one might take a little while. But I want you guys to know I am in no rush. I've waited this long to play them, so I'm going to take my time and enjoy every moment of it. Next up is Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I'm actually getting an early review code for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I can't wait to dive in. This is the long-awaited feudal Japan Assassin's Creed game that everyone has always wanted, something fans have been asking for forever. And like any other Assassin's Creed game, it promises a mix of samurai combat and shinobi stealth. There are 2 different characters you can use in the game. I'm going to be trying out both of them. And of course, I'm really just hoping Ubisoft nails the historical setting. There's been a lot of opinions, you could say, just swirling about this game. A lot of people have different thoughts on it, and at the end of the day, man, I just hope it's a good game. So my review will be dropping hopefully close to launch. I am getting my review code on the 18th and the game comes out on the 20th. So I'll do as much work as I can, but again, I'm not going to deliver that review to you guys until I've actually beaten the game. Next up is the first Berserker Kazan, and this is for the actual full review. This game releases on March 27th, and I already mentioned during my demo impressions, I'm also getting an early review code for this game. So as I said earlier, this is shaping up to be one of the more brutal action RPGs of the year, and I'm just really excited to continue playing this game. Thankfully, the demo does carry over to the full game, so hopefully I can knock it out pretty quick without rushing through the game. Next up is Atomfall, and this is an open world survival horror game set in 1950s Britain, blending Cold War paranoia with supernatural horror. It's from Rebellion, the developers of Sniper Elite, so I'm really curious to see how they handle this unique premise. Since it is on Game Pass day 1, a lot of people will have access to it, and I'll be seeing if it's worth your time or not. Then coming up next, we have Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. This is a big one, but it's going to have to wait until April for me, just because of how jam-packed March is. If you've never played Xenoblade Chronicles X, it's a massive open-world JRPG with mechs, which is really cool. It originally released on Wii U, and when it came out on Wii U, I didn't get to spend a ton of time with it because I was working so much. But it had some of the best exploration of any game in the series, and I can't wait to revisit it in its definitive form. Next up, we have Hitman World of Assassination. I'm going to be playing this on PSVR 2. So Agent 47 is back, but this time in fully immersive virtual reality. World of Assassination brings the entire modern Hitman trilogy into the world of PSVR 2, letting players step into the shoes of the world's most dangerous assassin, like never before. From blending into crowds to disguising yourself in plain sight, the game offers a unique mix of stealth, strategy, and action. The question is, though, does the VR experience hold up? Or does it compromise the precision and depth Hitman is known for? I'll find out when it drops on March 27th. Next, we have South of Midnight, and it comes from the creators of We Happy Few, and it's a third-person action-adventure set in a hauntingly beautiful version of the American South. South of Midnight follows Hazel, a young woman who gains the ability to weave magic into reality as she uncovers a world filled with supernatural creatures and southern folklore legends. The game leans into eerie storytelling and a painterly art style, making it one of the most visually distinct games coming to Xbox Game Pass this year. I'm particularly excited to see how the combat mechanics and world exploration holds up when it launches on April 8th. And again, this game just looks really cool. I love the art style and animation here. Gives me those stop motion vibes. Next up, we have the Lunar Remastered Collection. Fans of classic JRPGs should be really happy because we're getting Lunar Silver Star Story and Lunar Eternal Blue. And these are games that, again, highly sought after for decades. And this remastered collection brings back the iconic 90s RPGs with enhanced visuals, fully orchestrated soundtrack, and modernized gameplay tweaks. Lunar has been long overdue for a remaster, and the improvements could finally bring this series to a new generation of gamers. I've waited nearly 3 decades to experience this series properly, so again, this is another one that I'm going to be taking my time with, when it launches on April 18th. Next up, we have Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And this turn-based RPG immediately caught my eye with its breathtaking hand-painted art style and dark dystopian premise. Set in a world where a tyrant known as the Paintress executes one person per year in strict numerical order. This story follows a group of rebels trying to break the cycle. The combat blends traditional RPG mechanics with unique painterly effects that alter their battlefield in real time. I've already secured an early review copy for the PS5 version, so expect my full thoughts before the official launch. Next, we have Days Gone Remastered, and it's an open world survival, motorcycle travel, and relentless zombie hordes game. Days Gone was one of those games that divided opinions at launch but grew a loyal fan base over time. I actually never played the original, but after scoring a physical copy for $15 on eBay, I can now upgrade to the remaster for just $10 and finally see what I missed. The remaster is promising improved visuals, faster load times of course, better gameplay and performance. With all that, it feels like the perfect time to finally experience Deacon St. John's journey through the apocalypse. Next, we have The Midnight Walk for psychological horror fans, and this narrative-driven adventure is shaping up to be one of the most chilling releases of the year. Launching on May 8th for PS5, PSVR 2, and PC VR, the game takes players on an eerie, slow-burning journey filled with unsettling environments and deep psychological horror elements. With its focus on narrative immersion, I'm curious to see how it handles choice-driven storytelling and whether its scares are truly impactful or just surface level. Definitely one to watch though, and this one has such a cool art style. Next, we have Doom: The Dark Ages. The Doom franchise is taking a bold turn with this new medieval-themed entry. Instead of futuristic sci-fi weapons, Doom: The Dark Ages introduces a brutal, dark fantasy setting where players will wield medieval-inspired weaponry mixed with classic Doom carnage. The trailer teased a massive sword and shield and some new monstrous enemies straight out of a nightmare. With a launch date of May 15th, I'm actually going to be playing this on Xbox Series S so I can get an idea of what a possible Switch 2 version could look like. Next, we have Elden Ring Night Reign, and I actually got to play this game already on PS5 as part of the beta, and I enjoyed it enough to keep my pre-order, so I'm excited to dive back into it. I wish I would have had more time to play it. I only got to play it for maybe 2 or 3 hours, but I enjoyed it enough to, again, maintain that pre-order, and so I'm excited to play this when it comes out on May 30th. Again, this might be one of those games that I don't get to fully dive into until June, and it all kind of depends on what's going on with Switch 2. And then the last game so far is Lost Souls Aside, and that's an action RPG. It's been in development for years. It's had some delays. It's finally arriving on May 30th. Inspired by Devil May Cry and Final Fantasy, Lost Souls Aside features fluid, high-speed combat, stunning visuals that push the PS5's hardware to its limits, so they say. The protagonist's ability to seamlessly switch between weapons and movement styles reminds me of Nero from DMC or Noctis from Final Fantasy. It's been a long road to release, but I'm excited to see if it was worth the wait. Next, we have one of my most anticipated hardware releases of the year. That's the Analogue 3D. The Analogue 3D is a modern reimagining of the Nintendo 64, offering true 4K output with no emulation. As a longtime Analogue supporter ever since the Analogue NT back in 2016, I pre-ordered this the moment it went live, and I can't wait to put it to the test. But here's the kicker. Analogue still hasn't shown us any actual gameplay footage, so if you're wondering why I am rolling old school N64 clips here, that's why. Despite the mystery, I'm confident in Analogue's track record, and I'll be covering it in full as soon as it arrives, assuming it actually ships in Q1 2025, as it says right now on the website. If you've ever struggled to hook up a N64 to a modern TV, Without a mess of adapters and input lag, you already know why this is such a big deal. Expect a full deep dive review and plenty of high quality 4K gameplay footage to help you decide if it's worth picking up. May is also a big month for another reason. Not only does Mario turn 40, but I turn 40. I can't believe it, but here we are. And to make it even more exciting, I'm going to be traveling to LA from May 19th to the 21st to record in studio with Mike Odyssey and Paul Gale Network for IndieMania. This is part of IGN's Summer of Gaming, and I'm absolutely honored to be a co-host for this event. It's going to be an incredible experience, and I can't wait to share it with you all. Hopefully I'll have some fun live streams to do while I'm traveling and while we're recording. Now, speaking of massive events, April 2nd is going to be insane. I'll be pulling a double shift on YouTube because that morning I'll be co-streaming the big Switch 2 Nintendo Direct with Nintendo Prime and Eric Moore, and we'll be going live an hour before the Direct, which means we're starting at 5 a.m. Arizona time. So yeah, I'll be up probably around 3:45 to get everything set up. Then that night, we'll be going live again for the big Switch 2 podcast blowout. And Nate's got a ton of guests scheduled for that, so it should be a lot of fun. And we'll be breaking down all the announcements. So if you're a Nintendo fan, mark your calendars because April 2nd is going to be huge. And of course, if you love Nintendo discussions, don't forget that we go live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. for the Nintenbyte podcast. Next week will be week 4 of my Nintendo launch history PowerPoint series, where we take a historical look back at Nintendo's console launches leading up to the big Switch 2 reveal on April 2nd. And if you've missed the previous episodes, here's what we've covered so far. In week 1, which is season 2, episode 5, we did the Nintendo, Game Boy, and Game Boy Color. And then the next episode, we did Super Nintendo, Virtual Boy, and Nintendo 64. Last week, which was episode 7, we did GameCube and GBA. Next week, we're doing Wii and DS. March 19th, we'll be doing Wii U and 3DS. And then March 26th, we'll be doing the Switch launch and then giving our final predictions for the Switch 2 launch. So, if you want to catch up, go watch those episodes and definitely join us live every Wednesday night. And again, that's at 7 p.m. Arizona time, which is Mountain Standard Time. All right, so as you can see, things are crazy busy, but in the best way possible. I appreciate all of you for supporting the channel, and I can't wait to share all of these reviews, streams, and events with you. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and drop a comment below. Let me know which of these games you're most excited for. And as always, remember, you're never too old to play video games.